let's shift to some other issues that has to do with governance. For instance, how would you rate the performance of the current administration of President Muhammadu Buhari? Because they have had remarkable scorecard, wouldn't you say?
Remarkable score. Okay, that's a scorecard in the negative or in the positive?
No, the scorecard, it depends on your interpretation of what the scorecard
so
is.
now let's look at it from the perspective of the common man, so that we take it out of the prisms of subjective interpretation. Like if I say that from my own point of view, then you can say it's because he's in the other political party. But if I give you stats that are factual and cannot be denied by the government, then it becomes the opinion of the normal man. They came and campaigned on 3 promises: that they were going to fight insecurity. In fact, President Buhari on the 26th of February 2015 was in the Chatham House, the Royal Institute of International Studies, where he accused the PDP government of spending money in politics rather than fighting insecurity. Then he promised in that conclusion, in his concluding remarks, he now said, if voted into power, the world would have no reason to worry about Nigeria, right? That was factual. 7 years down the line, the world is more worried about Nigeria than they were in 2015. This is factual. So the opinion of Daniel does not count. The bandits have threatened to abduct the president of the Federal Republic. It never happened before. Between Kaduna to Abuja, the bandits were reported to have extorted 1.2 billion from ordinary citizens of the country through ransom and abduction. The bandits set up a caliphate, set up a kingdom or state, whatever, in Kaduna, that the governor of Kaduna had to write the president to say they've set up a parallel government, they were collecting taxes, and they have warned that nobody should participate in 2023 election. The bandits killed soldiers in the brigade guards. The bandits attacked the prison and released their people from the prison. These killings and maimings and destruction, the spokesman for APC was on air in a television station where his attention was drawn to it, and his reaction was that we should classify them as mere comedians. How can comedians say they will abduct the president? So the understanding of APC about violence and crime is that it is a comedy. What that means is that if they are voted into power, they will turn Nigeria into Night of 1,000 Laughs. But Nigerians don't see that as comedy. Look at schools. We will even come to education, but this one is on security. They failed. When they came to power, it was only the Northeast, and particularly Borno and Yobe, that you had Boko Haram hoisting flags. Now, this is 7th year down the line. We still have not dealt with it completely in the Northeast, but we also have the entirety of the Northwest taken over by bandits. The president has been attacked. Then you come to North Central. Abuja is somewhere around North Central. You have the operations. In the Southeast, there is no part of Southeast that people don't go to work on Mondays. So no, you heard of the Owo attack. No part of Nigeria is safe. The seat of power is not safe. So this is the scorecard on security. Now, scorecard on fighting corruption. They introduced social investment programs in different names and nomenclature.
Which worked?
For example, which worked where?
Which worked. I mean, they've been disbursing several billions of naira to the less privileged and the underaged.
So this, I like that fact, so I can debunk that. They have said, we've done that, we've done that, we've done that. The National Assembly Committee, relevant committee, summoned these individuals because of the volume of amounts that they claim to be disbursing. And when they came, they asked them to produce data. All of them, from the intervention through humanitarian ministry or the one that the Minister of Labor is executing, refused to give the data. They said their defense was that the data contained the names of the beneficiaries, their BVN numbers, and their contact number, and that will amount to breach of privacy. I have never had under the heaven such a baseless defense to this kind of issue.
Why is it baseless?
Because
the authorities can actually go there to the banks and get the figures, and they have their phone numbers.
No, that's not how democracy works. The National Assembly is empowered by law to perform oversight function because they have the power of purse. They approve money for the government. Just like loans, they approve loan, and then there is always a congressional hearing for you to account for what you've spent. You can't ask the National Assembly to go to the street and start verifying. National Assembly came up with a finding that out of the 100 million liters of oil that they say we consume every day, there are about 60 or so percent of it goes outside of the country. So we are subsidizing to private few. National Assembly summoned people to come and account. Nobody showed up. There has never been a time in the history of democracy since 1999 where the members of the government showed such a degree of disdain to the parliament like in this government. They would appear, one will fake that he has fainted, the one will come and insult the other and walk out on them, the one will not show. There has never been a time. They never accounted for anything about social investment program. After the COVID, there was this COVID relief that was raised, both government, international partners, as well as business society in Nigeria. And they claim to have been distributing COVID materials and relief. They asked them to come and give statistics and data. None has done that. Nigeria, the next president is going to be confronted with the payment of a loan of 27.7 trillion naira. So that's what we're saying. You are now going to pay for loan. There was a finding by World Bank that Kano and Maradi rail line per kilometer cost that Nigeria projected was 100% higher than the one approved by the African Union. So that is to say, if the standard as recommended by African Union for all African countries is 100,000 naira, I'm just giving an instance, for construction of 1 kilometer, and the standard is speed rail, not even our locomotive, if it is 100,000, Nigeria claimed to have spent 1 million. There was a congressional hearing. Did the minister explain properly? Remember when the president came on board, he said he was going to launch Nigerian Air. There were so many activities around Nigeria, including flying to London to launch the logo. And then the scandal that somebody claimed that his intellectual property was stolen, Nigerian government had to pay 5 million and all that. They have at every given time promised that they were going to launch the airlines. They are rounding up their government. There is nothing like Nigerian Air in the air. In between this period, subnational government like Calabar, Cross River, and one other, and I think Akwa Ibom, they launched their domestic airlines and they are functioning effectively. So in what way would you, for all intent and purposes, say they have delivered on the promise? This is the premise for our conclusion that there is no way people will vote for APC. That was exactly what happened to PDP in 2015. Nigerians became dissatisfied with what was happening.
But the APC would ordinarily say that most of these issues that they had were inherited from the PDP. How do you respond to that?
And that is a sign of an irresponsible leadership. The hallmark of a leader is accepting responsibility. The burden of leadership is accepting responsibility. In 1999, after Nigeria returned to democracy, Obasanjo and ATIKU took the reins. Remember before then, Nigerians could not secure visa to go abroad because of the way the military so corrupted the government and we didn't have the favor of the international community. There was not a single day Obasanjo and ATIKU gave complaint we inherited anything. Leadership, accept responsibility. Obasanjo started flying all over the map, seeking two things, debt cancellation and direct foreign investment. ATIKU took the reins at home, developing a broad-based idea to opening up of the economy. We did. There was telecom, created jobs. Not even agriculture matched that job, that the value chain of that telecom brought. They brought so many other areas, they opened up the economy. There was no excuse. Now you are saying, when you came in 2015, you inherited, you inherited Boko Haram. Did you inherit bandit? How did banditry slip into the country? Did you inherit IPOB? How did they slip into the country? You inherited this, you inherited that. Between this period, let me give you an example of irresponsibility. The war between Russia and Ukraine created a problem in the European countries, but an advantage to every country that exports oil, because there was an increase in oil price. In fact, it is even projected that by this December, if the crisis continues, the value of oil per barrel in the international market will be between $150 to a barrel to $200. During this period of crisis, Aramco not only profited, but they posted a profit of $90 billion, from which they put some in their stakes in the US and some they plow it back to the economy. Nigeria made profits, have not been able to do anything with it. The question was put through because I challenged that. The spokesperson for APC said that the more profit we make out of the sale of the oil, the more responsibilities we have to take care of. That is called irresponsibility. So I asked the question, is it a cost for you to have oil boom? Because in the 70s when we had oil boom, you saw what Nigerians did with the oil. The simple answer to that is the irresponsibility of the government is not dealing with the removal of subsidy, because they are actually paying some few individuals in Nigeria, removal of subsidy, and channeling these funds to productive areas of the economy. You are now saying social investment and they're ending up in private pocket. That is why ASU refused to believe you're honest in the conversation, because there would always be trade dispute.
But ASU is an inherited problem.
Yes, but ASU said that you have enough money to begin to deal with it one by one. And they said you have not been able to demonstrate honesty, because look at this area, you wasted money. Look at this area, you wasted money. Look at this area, you wasted money. These are our demands. We are not asking for our profit. We are not asking for our entitlement. We are also asking that the institution standard should be raised to a level. That's why ATIKU is far better than them, because ATIKU believes that prioritizing education is looking at education from the point of view where Nigerians or foreigners can invest in education. So that if you have many schools that are privately owned, you'll be able, you are reading medicine. You've never had time in the laboratory, because most of the things are not there. You're reading engineering, you've never touched engine. I mean, you're reading law, you've never had a moot court. These are the type of product they are producing. Have you seen the number of doctors leaving Nigeria every day? Were doctors leaving Nigeria pre-2015? So excuse, to me, is a clear sign of irresponsibility. But everybody, including the World Bank, look at Nigeria and say, you're wasting money. You don't have good monetary policy, no idea about economic development. On the area of security, you are disillusioned. In fact, President Buhari and APC-led government have spent more than any other country in Africa on defense. In the last 7 years, they spent about 7.something trillion. Every ammunition you can think about under the heaven, we procured them. Tucano, everything. And insecurity continue to increase. Do you know why? Leadership. Leadership is being able to hold people to account. If I give you money, I give you responsibility, you don't do it, I sack you. That is not seen in this government. So it's not the issue of lack of money or we inherited. It's lack of idea. A leader without an idea is nothing more than a terrorist. Because a terrorist's objective is to profit himself by whatever means necessary. Leadership objective, where it becomes similar to a terrorist, is that you want to sit in that seat by all means necessary, but you are not delivering on the people. Do you know the Constitution says the primary objective of government, what gives legitimacy to government? Provision, protection of the life and property of the people. Once the people can no longer have confidence in government's ability to protect their lives, the government loses legitimacy. So these are the scorecards. And these are the things that an ordinary person in the street is seeing. So it's not about PDP is talking, this other political party is talking. Look at prices of items in the market. I give you an example of this oil boom. They boasted and said we have achieved food sufficiency in the country. During this period, we boosted agriculture, we closed our borders to achieve. What are the indices for measuring food sufficiency? Look at it in economics. One, stability of prices of items in the market. And in some cases, in fact, prices going down when you say you have achieved food security. Because the crisis between Russia and Ukraine did not affect us in terms of food. The food products that we claim to be eating, as they are saying, are locally produced. But look at in contrast, items keep going up. No economic policy. Few days ago, I think about 3 days ago, I saw it, federal government approved a contract of totaling 800 and something million naira to private security firm for surveillance between Abuja to Kaduna. Two companies. One is 400 million, the other one is 400 and something. Some people did a fact check of those companies. One is an active company. Then the other one is a company that was established just this year in Nigeria. Even banks engage private security operators that have a checkered history of work, payment of tax, up to date. They have not evaded crime, because this is a national security issue. You've just awarded a company, a contract to a company that has been inactive. Who are the owners of the company? These are the things that institutions like the Department of State Services and law enforcement need to do a background check, is security. So you don't aggravate our problem, or we end up coming out tomorrow to see that even the security firm is owned by bandits. This is what we are talking about. We had similar problem with the crisis we had in London when there was a court judgment that Nigeria will have to pay a certain amount, and they were looking at garnishing the embassy. And after a forensic study of how this contract came about, the company was contracted by the government, and the company was inactive at that time. If we keep talking, we can talk till the cows come home. There is no responsibility, there is no direction. I think, and I must say that because I supported Buhari, he's a well-intentioned man. Buhari meant well for the country. Buhari has demonstrated that he is not corrupt. But let me tell you one thing about leadership. By the time Buhari leaves office and a memoir is written about him, one thing I'm sure he will say he regrets is that during his time he did not pay attention to supervision. You're called a president because you preside over. You supervise people you appoint. He has had the problem of putting square pegs in round holes. Once you do that as a leader, because the box up on your desk, everything that goes wrong will be traceable to you. That is the sin, or that is the burden that President Buhari will get. But his case will be worse if APC is voted, because the man who is running now for APC does not even know half of what Buhari knows about government or national security. If you have the time, I will tell you more about what they are campaigning with as an agenda or as a rhetoric that he did well in Lagos. I will tell you, between 1999 to 2007, if you take out context, he actually performed worse than some governors in Nigeria, because the Lagos that they say he did, he improved the revenue, he only collected tax. All the infrastructure needed for a state, or in fact a country to develop, was on ground. Lagos used to be the Nigerian national capital. Before Nigeria was formed, Lagos was a colony. You have all the infrastructure for economic development. Asiwaju didn't establish them. There was seaport, there was airport, you have commercial activities, all the embassies are there, so transaction with foreign envoys is in Lagos, all the hotels are there, headquartered in Lagos, all the banks are headquartered in Lagos, all security apparatus, every facility and infrastructure for economic development was in Lagos. He didn't bring them. Asiwaju did not invite or introduce or brought to Lagos any serious foreign investor or domestic investor. And these revenues we are talking about that they claim he has generated, we are on. It's just that the government didn't have the infrastructure in collecting those. So what he did throughout this period was to collect tax. That's what they claim by revenue. And even then, the reason he did that was because the company that was collecting the tax, the company is allegedly traceable to him. So if you pick a man on the street and you tell him, I want you to collect tax in a given area, your percentage is 30%. He will be optimal. He will be highly effective. This is the summary. But let me tell you what he did in Lagos. One, he attempted to destroy democracy. He wanted to introduce what we call monarchical democracy. A democracy that is not reflected by the will and wishes of the people, but reflected by the choice of a man, and people should run around it. He introduced the concept in politics in Nigeria that we call take the queue, follow the queue. He was the only governor in Nigeria that during the period of 7 years, he has had to impeach his deputy governors 3 times and change them. He's the only politician in Nigeria that nobody wins under his tutelage unless the person is chained or positioned by him. You don't win by the popularity that you carry or because you have idea, but whether he has approved you. That is one. 2, the House of Assembly in Lagos throughout his period never had the independence. This is the man you say he promotes democracy. Never had the independence. In fact, when allegedly the drug conviction in Chicago was alleged, to have, happened, and then Gani Fawemi was all over the place that he should be checked, he should be probed, he should be prosecuted. The House of Assembly sat down. They had no business doing that. They said they cleared him. That they did a finding and they cleared him. On what premise? The same Festus Keyamo, who is the spokesman now, went to court around the time to challenge the decision of the House of Assembly. Do I now detour to tell you about Festus Keyamo and Lalong? I was in APC when I was canvassing for vote for Asiwaju. Lalong was doing Amechi, Festus Keyamo was doing Amechi. All the negative narrative that is built in the air against Asiwaju were pushed by Festus Keyamo. They don't believe in Asiwaju. They are just there on contract. Festus Keyamo was the one that peddled the idea that Asiwaju had Pakistan. Festus Keyamo was the one that peddled the idea that Asiwaju had baggages. The worst about Festus Keyamo was that he was even oscillating like a pendulum between the vice president and what do you call him, and Amechi. Suddenly, Festus Keyamo has come to talk about Asiwaju he didn't believe. The greatest mistake Asiwaju has made in constituting his campaign structure was to choose the people that did not and still don't believe in him. That is the tale of their presidential candidate.
Well, they also say that Atiku Abubakar also has baggages.
Like, I wish you can mention that, or I can help you to mention what they've been peddling, which we have debunked that. They said he is corrupt. What's the yardstick for measuring a corrupt person? In Nigerian law, indictment and conviction by a competent court. He has never been indicted. He has never been convicted. I need you to know, Obasanjo investigated Atiku more than any other person in the history of Nigeria. Ribadu at the time was all over the map, fetching evidence, till Obasanjo left government, till successive government took over, until this present time. Atiku has never been invited by the EFCC. He has, so it's a perception held by one man, but let's not trust it to him. When did Obasanjo begin the campaign that Atiku was corrupt? When Atiku foiled the plan for a third term. So we have to look at context. Atiku does not have, but in contrast, Asiwaju has been investigated by EFCC, ICPC, the United States government. So even on the evidence of what they peddle, they don't have anything to say. They came to the issue of Atiku does not have executive power. That's a very important thing. That the governors are more experienced than him. I look at him and I laugh. Why? Because when Atiku was vice president and chairman of the economic committee or economic council, these governors come to him to take notes. Asiwaju came, take notes. He took notes. Peter Obi came, took notes. But let me even escalate the argument further. Gani Faweyimi wrote an article titled Obasanjo the Absentee President. And in Gani's finding, which is a finding that he personally did because he took Obasanjo to court at the time, he came up with this finding that Obasanjo traveled in the first 3 years of the first term 93 times. And for these 93 times, he was away from Nigeria for 240 days. If you multiply 240 days by 30 days, that makes up a month, you have 8 months. For this period, he's been away for 8 months. Atiku Abubakar governed Nigeria as the commander-in-chief, because as an acting president, you're commander. Then they made an argument that, no, there was never a transmission of letters, so he was not acting president. Obasanjo in 2019 said, that's balderdash. I didn't consider it necessary to designate him as an acting president, because my understanding is that once the president is out, the vice president takes the full reins of power. And then look at what Atiku did during this period. These were the period that we introduced policies that opened up our Nigerian economy. Telecom was one. We established critical institutions of government that have now come to become the baseline for the growth and development of a free society.
And you believe that that can still continue from 2023?
He will do better. Imagine Atiku Abubakar at this stage that he didn't need to go to school, had to go to Anglia Ruskin University, an offshoot of Cambridge, to freshen up his mind and obtain a master's degree. The man is ready. When I was about joining him, I was invited to a meeting where experts were brought from abroad to teach his media team on media concept and how to run a campaign. Atiku believes that government should be run like a private enterprise. And let me give you what he meant by private enterprise. To look at it from the point of view of efficiency and effectiveness. The reason why you don't see strike in private universities, you see in public universities, is that in private universities, the people are paid their dues and there is a demand for them to produce, and if they don't, they are going to be fired. In public institutions, nepotism comes, tribalism comes, favoritism comes, the government is lacking behind like this, also not paying them and everything. So efficiency is not there. Atiku believes government should be. Why should a bank be more effective than a country? The banks are more effective posting profit than a country. As it stands, Nigeria today is worse than a man owning a shop in somewhere in Day. Because even the man owning a shop in Day posts a profit. He will tell you the profit margin is small. Nigeria is in debt. 27.7 trillion we are going to pay. They are even thinking about collecting more debt. They have resorted to taxing private citizens. Now I just heard yesterday that in Lagos or one other state they introduced, even parking a car wrongly in your house, you pay tax. Thinking of every conceivable way of extorting money.
And that will change with the PDP.
We have to change and do the right thing. I give you an example. I travel a lot. You go to England, you do not need to do a COVID test. Whether you go in or you go out. All the countries of the world are opening up economy. Because these COVID measures were put in place, those COVID measures put in place affected economies. So when they quickly realized that this COVID has come to stay with us forever, we might as well open up our economy. Do you know in Nigeria, if you are not vaccinated, you will pay for day 2 test and day 7 test, about 70-something thousand, private citizen. You travel not on the government money. They still have to tax you. They don't even do a follow-up to know whether you actually took the test. The fact that you bring the money. We even ask the question further, where is the money going to? It comes down to the issue of there is nobody to call them to account, because if the National Assembly call, they will bluff them, call their bluff and go. So any government that does not pose a profit, that government is a failure. I say that with every sense of responsibility.
Barrister Daniel BWALA, the spokesperson of the candidate of the PDP, Alhaji ATIKU, who's running for president in 2023. We do appreciate your time, and always a delight speaking to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.